Today's video is an update for the project Level Up. I am very excited because I have completed level 3, which means I'm on to level 4. I am doing my own version of this. This was first started by Sophie Alexandra. I will link her in the description box. I think this is such a fun project and a good way to get use out of eyeshadow palettes. I have a large palette collection, so I don't do pan those eyeshadows or pan that palette, and I'm doing this instead to get good use on my eyeshadow palettes. If you're new, I hope you'll subscribe, and I'm very excited to tell you about this update. Also, if you're interested in the makeup I'm wearing, I will list it down below, but I did film this video. This was a member exclusive video for the extra Chic and Geeky members. I do have 2 membership tiers on my channel. If you're interested, there is more info on that in the description box. Thank you to my channel members. You guys are amazing, and let's get into this update. I will show you the palettes that I completed for level 3, and then I will pick 4 new palettes for level 4, which is exciting. And you can keep going beyond that. I think for me, I'm going to stick with level 4 and then probably restart at level 1. That's kind of what I'm thinking. And so what I've been doing, so Sophie does this where at every level she tries to hit pan on an eyeshadow, and that's what a lot of people do as well. So level 1, you try to hit pan on 1 eyeshadow. Level 3, you try to hit pan on 3, and then you use every shade like 1 time for level 1, level 2, use every shade twice. Well, so what I'm doing in not the hitting pan part is I am picking for each level. So for level 3, used every shade 3 times, and then I picked 3 shades and used those 10 times. So that's how I'm doing the project. And I know a lot of people are doing this or other versions as well. So Melt She's in Parties was in level 3. And so the 3 shades that I used 10 times each, the first one was this one right here. I've used this as inner corner highlight a lot. It's called Skeleton Kiss. It's super pretty. This palette may not look like I've used it that much because the Melt Cosmetics shadows are very pigmented, guys. They are very pigmented. And then another one that I used 10 times was this one there. I used that on the lower lash. And then the darkest burgundy was the other shade. And yes, so those are the shadows. I love this palette. It is beautiful. It probably doesn't look like I've used it that much because again, it's very pigmented, but I'm glad that I got use on that. Okay, and then the next palette in level 3 was the Natasha Denona Yucca palette. And I have to say, I really fell in love with this palette. I really did. It is beautiful. And so this one, I do feel like I can see some kind of usage change, especially on the shimmers. And so now I'm trying to remember which shades that I used 10 times. For sure, the dark brown flax, I used that on the lower lash line. This one here, I do tend to use the mattes more just because I can use them in the crease or lower lash line. So they're easier for me to use multiple times. And then the other one was this one here, which you can see I got some of this brown in there. This is a cream to powder. So this one, and this one were the shades that I used 10 times each for level 3. And I do feel like I can see a difference with this palette from before. So yeah, I have fell in love with this palette, guys, because when I bought it, I didn't use it that much because I think I bought it at a time where I had bought a bunch of other palettes. And wow, like people were right. This palette is stunning and I've been missing out by not using it. Okay, and then I had an older palette, which is this one from Charlotte Tilbury. It's the Smoky Eyes Are Forever. And so here we are here. I don't know if you can see much change there, but the shades that I used 10 times were this shimmer here for inner corner highlight. I really like it for that. The dark red and the dark brown. Again, these I often used on the lower lash line, but I enjoyed the rest of the palette too. These greens are super pretty. The black actually is a very good black eyeshadow, but yeah, this one, loved that for the inner corner. So yeah, that is this palette. This is an older palette in my collection. I had already used it a lot. This one was actually in my project 100 uses a few years ago. And so I have used it a lot, but yeah, it's a good one, older palette. So I'm happy I got good use on that. And then the last one in level 3 was the Melt Cosmetics Fatally Yours palette. And again, really high pigment formula, guys. Very high pigment. So the shades that I use 10 times each, this light peach there. This one, which is, it's like a grungy dark brown, it has a bit of like green in there. And then the dark burgundy, which I used these again, both lower lash line. I know, not super exciting, but I did enjoy the rest of the palette. I will say I did talk about this when I reviewed this palette in a recent like reviewing palettes video, that I feel like if I use more than 2 or 3 of these like in a look, it can be a bit muddy. So yeah, that's kind of a bummer. I still like the palette overall, and I think it's a beautiful color story, but I've just noticed that it works better if I only use maybe like 2 of the shades and then put like a shimmer on the lid from another palette. Yeah, because I did a few looks where I wore like 5 or 6 of these together and it started to look a little muddy, which is unfortunate. I still like the palette, but a bit disappointing. All right, so for picking new palettes for level 4, I am going to use my playing cards. I was inspired by the deck of panning, which was started by Emily. And so I'm going to take out some of the face cards and the 10s, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to say I'm picking 10 palettes, which I'll show you, and I'm going to number them 1 through 10. And I have decided if I get, let's say, an ace or a joker, then that will be, I can pick whatever palette I want. And I'm going to say, I'm actually going to say kings are going to be 1 and the rest of the face cards will be 10. Okay, let me show you the 10 palettes I'll be choosing from. So number 1 is Natasha Denona Mini Love. Would love to get good use on that. I picked some of my Dose of Colors palettes, the Blushing Berries, also the Baked Browns. I really want to get good use on these palettes, so that one's going to be number 3. I also picked the Danessa Myricks Groundwork palette because I've only used this like once or twice since I got this. I got this in the Beautylish Lucky Bag, and so I thought that would be a good one to use. Also, Urban Decay Naked Honey. This is an older palette that I have not used in a while, but I really, really enjoy it. Red Dragon from Odin's Eye. I thought this would be a really fun one to pull out. And then we've got Colourpop Petals on Point. This is a very different palette, very soft pinks there. Colourpop Wine and Only. I thought this would be a good one. And some of these I talked about in that video I did that were older palettes that I wanted to use more in 2024. So I thought these would be good to pick. Juvia's Place, the Berries. And then number 10 is Colourpop in Orchid You Not. Beautiful dark purples. So those are the palettes. Okay, so like I said, I'm pretty sure I said kings are going to be 1. Ace or joker means I can pick whatever I want. And then jack and queen are number 10. So hopefully that makes sense. And I did take out some of the 10s and the jacks and the queens because obviously there would be more of those. So, all right, here we go. Number 4, I'm just going to pick all the cards first. And so jack, so that is number 10 and number 9 and number 3. Okay, so I didn't get to pick my own. All right, let me get those and then I'll be back. I'm pretty excited for the palettes that I got. And I did get the Groundwork palette, which I'm excited about. This one definitely has the most shadows. This one has an interesting smell. It's like a weird smell to this. Does anyone else's smell strange? It's like, I can't really describe it. It's like almost like fruit, but plastic fruit. Does that make sense? I don't know. It smells very strange. Anyway, like I said, I got this in the Beautylish Lucky Bag. So yeah, this one has the most shadows. So for level 4, that means I need to use every shade 4 times and I need to pick 4 shades and use each of those 10 times. So we shall see what I end up picking for that. I have tried some of these shades in my brows and none of them are cool toned enough, unfortunately. So kind of a bummer. I was hoping to be able to use them for that, but yeah, all of them just pull a bit too warm. So none of them work for my brows, unfortunately, but this is a palette that you can use on your whole face. So, you know, we'll see how I end up using it. All right, and then I got the Baked Brown. I was really, really hoping to get one of the Dose of Colors palettes. I mean, there's only 5 shadows in this one, so I gotta pick 4 of them to use them 10 times and then use all of them in general 4 times. So we'll see. We'll see what I pick. I don't know. I gotta use most of the palette anyway. And then another smaller palette got picked, and that is the Berries from Juvia's Place. So this only has 6 shadows, and I'm definitely excited to do some looks with this. Very, very pretty. This bright pink, I'm not as into that, but the rest of the palette, I really, really love it. Gorgeous, gorgeous. So excited for that. And then the last one was the Colourpop Orchid You Not, which is a little bit similar to the Berries, but this one's a lot more purple, where this one is more like pinkish burgundy. So I actually think they'll work well together. They're definitely, well, this dark shade is pretty similar to the one in this palette. Those look pretty much the same. But you know, I don't think that this is like totally duping itself, but I think they're going to work well together actually. So yeah, those are the 4 palettes. I think the Groundwork palette, even though it's so neutral, I think it might be more of a challenge just because there's so many shades in there. But these, I'm kind of excited to have gotten some smaller palettes, which obviously I put in some smaller palettes in my options. But I am loving this project. Check out Sophie, who created this project. It's really fun. It's a great way to use my eyeshadow palettes, and I am enjoying it. So yeah, if you're new, I hope you'll subscribe. Let us know if you guys are doing this project. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day.